Welcome to Season 3 of The Biz Show, sponsored by Invest Choir. Discover what's next with this insightful podcast. And now, your hosts, Barry and Lisa.
Hi, good morning, Barry.
Lisa, how are you today?
I feel like it was yesterday when we were doing our last podcast.
You know, yes. I enjoy these and I really enjoy educating people and stuff like that. And you and I get to sit here and have, a dialogue back and forth about a particular topic, and it's enlightening. A lot of people have said, thank you so much. I love it.
Oh, that's great. I love when we hear feedback, and it's so important to really connect with our audience because those are our people that we want to help and are maybe our future clients.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of feedback from last week's podcast from many women just saying, thank you so much for doing a podcast on women entrepreneurs and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. And you totally blindsided me on that one because we had not talked a lot that prior week. And so when I sat down for the podcast, I was like, okay, I want to redo the whole thing and be able to touch on so many more um, topics and roll up my sleeves and dive into like everything that was a
Well,
part of me
let's
building my career.
let's do a follow-up on that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was so appropriate for Mother's Day, so I can't wait to do the one for Father's Day, Barry.
Oh no, I'll be sick that day.
I'm coming up with all the questions on that
Oh
day. I can't
no,
wait. So, what
can't
are we
wait.
talking about today? We always love this word. We use this word a lot.
So in a lot, I don't know, probably 20, 30 of our podcasts, you've always heard
Yeah,
this word pivot,
I
right? And
know.
so we thought really it's really about time to actually explain pivot, what a pivot is, the signs to look out for a pivot, and then how to pivot.
Think about it. Like we can use an analogy because I am a new grandma and my daughter Nicole is raising my grandson right now. And just when she thinks she knows him and she's got the whole parenting thing down, she has to pivot because now he's in a whole new um, age level. He's teething or now he's starting to crawl. So she's constantly pivoting and having to adapt. So that's my analogy of the day.
Yeah, and honestly, a pivot, it is just that, adapting, right?
Yeah, let's dive in.
So yeah, the art of the pivot. So let's talk about what is a pivot. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory,
Yeah.
but basically they're changing things in life, right? Not just business. Here go my hands, right? I'm already talking with my hands.
I
But
can't wait to do video. This will be great. Let's
I
do video
know,
soon. My gosh. Yes.
yes. So, but the pivot really, I mean, there's several different types of pivots, right? There's a pivot for a product, there's a pivot in the market that might be your business model. You know, um, there's all kinds of different types of pivots, and really understanding that you're at that point where you need to pivot.
Yeah, a really good entrepreneur will have that quick response and be able to fully pivot like quickly. And knowing how to do that is just really key. And having the creativity mind and the entrepreneurial mind to be able to perform and pivot on a dime. Quick response is key here because sometimes you don't have time to sit down and make a whole new business plan and you just have to pivot based on what's happening maybe in the market or maybe with technology. Maybe something you're using isn't working anymore. So you may need to pivot and try a new technology to keep your business running.
Exactly right. That's exactly what I did at GE. I've had this conversation before saying that in the San Francisco Bay, GE was like a big aircraft carrier and you needed all these tugboats to get it turned around. So it was very hard for GE to pivot because you had all these checks and balances and you had to run stuff up the flagpole. But being a vice
Yes.
president, I kind of just did my own thing and I acted like a small business and I pivoted many times and I just did it and then I asked for forgiveness later, but it worked out in my favor that
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes there's a
because
little lag time with that, right, Barry?
there's a lot of lag time. I mean, at GE, sometimes it would be a year before you could
Yeah.
get an answer back. And I'm like, no, I need a day. So I'm taking
Yes.
it. and it worked well. And I grew the business to $55 million a year in revenue
Right.
from $5,000 or $60,000 actually. So you tell me, did it work or did it not?
I think you had good results. Those are the results that you want when you have to pivot because you want to be able to pivot in the right direction. Sometimes when I'm doing like a real estate transaction, I'm actually like really like sitting on the edge of my chair, ready to have to pivot because you don't know what the other party is going to do in a transaction. And I'm always expecting the worst so I could be fully prepared and have strategically my pivots in place so I know how to respond ahead of time. In fact, if you read some of my Google reviews, that is kind of a common theme. My customers tell me at the end of a transaction that I'm really quick to respond. And also, I stay ahead of what could potentially go wrong in a transaction. So I find that as a huge compliment because I am fully prepared and ready to pivot at any time. But what I love when this happens, like I'm ready to pivot, and then the other party doesn't do anything. So I don't really need to have a reaction, but always fully prepared for that. And that I think is what makes me a sharp agent. But yes, I love when you get a nice surprise and you don't have to do any pivots, right? It makes things flow very easily and smoothly.
It does, let's talk about what are the signs for a pivot, right?
Yes, what are they?
And there's some very very basic ones. Customer feedback is negative, right?
Yes, yes,
So they don't like your service, they don't like your product, they're critiquing it, and the critiques, you need to listen to those, right? You should always
right.
listen to your employees and you should always listen to your customers because they're front line. They know what's going on. And you might have tools in your business that suck. Your CRM system sucks. It doesn't work the way that your employees' workflow works. And it takes away from their time to sit there and put stuff into the CRM instead of it working with them, it's working against them almost, right? And
It may not even be that. It may not even be that your CRM system sucks. It could be the client sucks and they're giving you a run for your money and you might have to pivot just to adapt to that one because every customer is different. And so you may need to pivot and provide services in a different way for a specific type of client. I know that I
well,
have to do that sometimes when it just doesn't work for that customer and everything you've done for, 9 out of 10 customers works fantastically, but there's one customer that's just like is really, really creating a lot of opposition for you, and you might have to pivot and just do things a little differently for them.
we all have those customers. We have a few now, right?
Yeah.
And but the bottom line is when you're getting negative feedback, whether it's from a client or it's from a employee, evaluate that stuff, right? And we'll talk about that in a second. But the next thing is your growth is going nowhere, right? You're
Shoot,
doing all this business and you plateaued and it's just stopped. It's not
not a
scaling
good thing.
whatsoever at all.
Right. Yeah, you definitely want to figure that out quick so you don't like end up in the negative. You got to be very much aware of your numbers. Barry always says, know your numbers. So if you don't see those numbers coming in, you definitely need to do something different quickly.
Daily numbers, right? You need your daily numbers.
Yeah.
So the next one is a low retention, right? You get customers, they come in, you service them, and then they leave and they never come back. They don't
Oh, I
stick
hate
around.
that. That is not good. That's why I get those Google reviews.
Yes, so what's that tell you? That tells you they tried your services, they didn't like it.
They're not really impressed, right? There's
And
something
they
you could
may,
do better. I
yeah,
always,
and they
yeah.
I was just going to say, and they may not tell you, right? They just may use your services and go, and you'll never hear from them again. They didn't tell you you were bad, but take a look at your attrition rate, right? So typically an attrition rate runs about 15 to 20%, customers in
That's
the front door, customers out the back end. So you should always be trying to get new customers. But if you got a
normal
higher
too.
number,
Yeah. The higher the
you
number, the better.
right.
Yeah.
Um, Another one is competitors are coming in and they're taking over your business.
Yes. The competitors are going to take your business away. So make sure your attrition numbers are good because you want them to come back. But not only come back, but bring a friend. You always want referrals because then you could decrease your marketing budget if your referrals are high, right? You don't have to spend that much on marketing.
Right. I wouldn't worry about a brand new competitor that comes in and their prices are super really really low because they're trying to undercut everybody to kind of get a piece of the business. that's kind of a standard SOP, standard operating procedure for a lot of new
That's
businesses
right.
coming in.
That's where
Yeah,
loyalty comes with your clientele, right? And maybe you want to do a monthly, after 5 services, they get one free. Maybe that's where you pivot and do something new to retain your customers when you do have that competition. You could just ignite
gee,
your creativity with your company and do something fun.
excellent advice there, Lisa. That's right. I mean, nail on the head type.
Yeah, I love thinking of those things. So if any of you like, here's a plug because if any of you like are really kind of stuck and you want to kind of revive your company, so to speak, call me because I would love to come up with something. Sometimes it's easier for an outside person looking in to help you with that. So that's what Barry and I are here for.
This is true, and we would love to help that. Other things that are signs are out of your control, right? Um, Environmental things, pandemics, recessions. Those are things you
Yeah,
really can't control, but you're going to have to pivot at those points.
that's a nightmare.
You
And
know,
a lot of people did pivot during the COVID recession or the COVID pandemic because they had to keep, their doors open. So they had to find a way to still provide services with the pandemic going on, which was really a tough time for people and the
well,
recession.
you know what? That's a perfect segue into this
Yeah.
next part of real world examples, right? And the COVID specifically, um, right now we're not face to face, Lisa. We are working on Zoom today, and Zoom is a company that pivoted big time, and
Oh
it
my
paid
gosh.
and
I
it
only
and it paid
stock in
it
it. My goodness.
it paid off, right? Because back then Zoom was workplace, so on and so forth, but then they pivoted during COVID because workplaces were shut down. People were using it, but they also pivoted to schools and churches. And a lot of churches were having seminars on Zoom. A lot of schools were doing their classes on Zoom. So
They
Zoom,
still are. My kids are,
yes,
yeah, they do it on Zoom and it's like, ah, I want them to be face to face because that's when you truly get, refine your skills and tools when you're actually face to face. It's so much better. But yeah, they had to adapt and go to school on Zoom.
yeah. So Zoom was a company that during the pandemic they had an external force, a recession and or not recession, I'm sorry, but the pandemic. They pivoted, and now their customer base is pretty, instead of 80% corporate, it's now kind of 33, 33, 33.
Yes, exactly. It called
Well,
like hybrid model or something.
right. Another company that pivoted was Slack,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Slack was a game. It was
gaming company.
Tiny Speck was the
Yeah.
name of their game, and then in that they now what is Slack? Their communications tool, right? Up against Teams and others.
Uh,
So another big pivot, right? Two big pivots. Instagram. They
in,
were a
gosh, oh my Lord, they are
bur-
huge now. A while ago, I mean, years ago, 5 years ago, they were not what they are now.
yeah, no, exactly. They were basically a check-in app, right? You could check in with your friends and stuff like that. And then they started sharing photos and stuff like that. And then that part of it really exploded and grew. They saw that the powers that be within Instagram were going, hey, well, actually they were Bourbon back then, and they changed it to Instagram, and look where it's at today.
Yeah, exactly. It's just amazing, Barry. And I don't know if the pandemic spiked this or it was going to happen organically anyway, but I mean, we don't even put pictures on these platforms anymore. It's all videos and words are like blasting at our brains, constantly reading and watching the video. Like how fast we have to retain information is incredible. Like people
Well,
that are, not a visual type of a learner, I mean, you got to get with the program because it's all coming at you from all these directions now. I
you
can't
know,
post a picture of a house. I have to make the house move. I have to be like jumping out of the screen at you or 3D or something, it's crazy.
It's funny you say that because as you said that, a thought just popped into my head, right? Yeah, we've gone, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then what's a video worth now? Is it worth 10,000 words, 100,000 words? Um, but that said, we technology wise, computers and computing have grown, right? We've gone from 128-bit to 256-bit to 512 to gigabyte to 5 gigabytes. We've been able to grow our computers and that technology to support all of the trending, like from the book pictures to the video.
Yeah.
However, us humans, we can't upgrade our minds to take in more. So and as we get older, some of that falls off. So it's kind of backwards for the human species, if you will. We're losing some of that memory as we get older, and how we're going to put all that together. I don't know. I don't have that answer, but it was a thought that popped in my head as you said that. It's like,
Yes.
see that,
Um,
Lisa? You're putting thoughts in my
I'm
head.
putting thoughts in your head, just like one of those Instagram videos. I'm popping it right in
Bad,
through the
bad
Zoom.
Lisa. Bad
Well,
Lisa.
nobody can see, but I'm using my hands too. I'm very animated today. I've only had one cup of coffee. I think I slept good. I don't know.
Whoa, there you go.
Uh-oh, look out. It's
You know,
Friday.
one last company that did a major pivot was Twitter, right?
Yes.
And Twitter was actually a podcast when it started out, right? And it was called Odeo, and it basically microblogging. So they had a lot of people doing blogging and stuff like that in there. And now look what it's turned into. Now it's turned into this big old thing. It's X nowadays instead of Twitter, but nonetheless. So
Nonetheless.
nonetheless, well,
So
I
how to
didn't
be
I didn't
strategic
say
pivoting is this is a good one, Barry.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on the podcast. We got to get going through this today so people can get on with their day, right?
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, strategic, being strategic. So that's really like important. Like I mentioned,
Yes,
podcast, just being very strategic with it and being quick to react, right? So how can
right.
they be strategic? Let's see.
Well, I've always said revisit your numbers, revisit your business plan, so on and so forth, right? And revisit for you as a business. Typically, you're in business to solve a problem for a client, right? Whether it's they need a product, whether they need a service, you're there to provide that. They don't
Yeah,
they don't have it, you do. You're going to sell it to them.
yes.
So
So
you should,
know who your
yeah,
audience is, what is the problem or service that you're trying to provide, and like I said,
revisit that on a regular basis.
adapt to your customers, listen to their data, review the data when you have time, and look at who is your A client list, and then you might have to pivot and provide a different set of services for them that you would maybe a B or C client, right? So look at the
Well,
data.
there's a statement that's pretty true that 20% of your clients provide 80% of your revenue,
Yes,
right? So
that's
as you
right.
mentioned, look at your A clients, your B. You should be grading all your clients, whether they're A, B, C, D, E, or F's, right? Or I guess there is no
Yeah,
E,
put them
but
in buckets. We call them
yeah.
buckets.
And I'm not saying label them, but I am.
Yeah.
In the fact that you need to know who are the customers you need to service that need service right away, and who are the ones that can wait, and you need to know that.
Well, your
But
A clients are bringing in the referral business, so you definitely want to treat them with a little bit of white glove service. You want to give them a little
right,
extra. Hmm.
so you need to do your homework. You need to grab some data, right, as you analyze all this stuff, and do your analytics and figure out that who are your A's versus who are your F's. And if you have any F clients, you should fire yourself,
Oh
really.
yeah, fire it out of there. It's a wasted energy and resources. Absolutely
it
to that.
it
100.
is. The other thing is opportunities, right?
Hmm.
You're
Yeah, make
solving
sure that there is an opportunity there before you pivot and waste your resources. Yeah, definitely make sure
right.
there's a need for it. Yeah.
And And an example would be this, and it's simple, but if you are selling products and you're selling pins, right? You're selling, ballpoint pins, and now you're looking for new opportunities. Well, at some point, those ballpoint pins are going to need ink, aren't they? So you should maybe be selling ink as well. That way, your ballpoint, you got two lines of business. One, the refill, number one, or number two refills, number one.
Yes.
But look for new opportunities that you can solve for your clientele that kind of align up with your business.
Maybe test those before you put them on the market. Maybe you need to test them, Barry.
Exactly, you
Before you do
do.
that, who uses ballpoint pens anymore? We're all using computers. Don't invest in ballpoint pens. Just kidding.
Well, yeah, man, funny that you said that because I have written some stuff down and I use my ballpoint pen to do it. Matter of
Oh,
fact, I
you
got
do?
like 20 pins sitting right here in front of my
Remember,
desk.
my mom used to dip her pen in the ink, those calligraphy pens or whatever you call them.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
yes.
Yeah, she used to always talk about that because her kid behind her in the classroom would dip her braids in his ink well. And she would go home with blue ink in her hair and she was crying. I'll never forget my mom telling that story because she had long, beautiful braids. But
Oh no.
anyway,
Well,
back
here's
to
where
the
I'm
podcast.
going. Yeah, here's where I'm going with that, right? So again, another company and really another industry that pivoted and they saw a new opportunity were the printer companies,
Yeah,
HP, Brother, Epson, stuff like that. They
yeah.
sold printers. And
Yes.
then they analyzed, saw everything that was going on, and guess what? They now sell ink too.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, they had
And
to catch
now
up the time.
Yeah, and now you can buy a printer cheaper than what the ink cost.
It's so funny, right?
So,
Yeah.
but that's the classic example of
Hmm.
a pivot there, right? And them seeing a new opportunity and dived in on it, dove in on it, and now look, they're making more money on the ink than they are the printers themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Gosh, I remember the day of faxing and copy
Oh
machine.
God,
Oh, God.
yes.
I would stand in front of that printer forever, just loading, make sure the pages didn't get like eaten up by the printer. Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare.
I
But
talked
anyway,
to I talked to
that was,
somebody, a younger person, I think it was Tuesday, and the fax came up, and they're like, "What's a fax?"
yeah, they're like, what's a fax? Remember eFax? I had an eFax and
Yeah,
I loved it because it would come into my computer. And now that's all done away. We just have encrypted emails that are secure, right? So
yeah.
the the
Well,
times have changed and made our lives a lot simpler.
they
Um,
have.
yep.
I explained
Oh,
what a fax was to them, and they're like, "Well, why didn't you just email it?" I said, "We didn't have email. Computers weren't around yet."
exactly. And so now I find myself pivoting with the times because I'm still kind of, back in the old school ways of doing things. My son laughs at me all the time because I make things a little harder for myself. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a resource. I didn't know that was available. And he's like, let me show you. And he grabs my phone and he shows me how to do stuff, much
Right.
more than I'm used to doing. So I'm pivoting all the time, you guys. I mean, I'm not that
Yes.
old, but I'm pivoting daily when it comes to technology.
Wait till we have to get a hip replacement, right? We'll pivot big time.
Oh my God.
Well, so you said, make sure that you do testing and, stuff like that, and then have something to measure that with, right? Some KPIs, key performance indicators, so
Yeah.
that you can grade your pivots and see how they work.
Yes, absolutely.
So
And
there are
make
some,
sure,
oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was going to say, make sure, when you are pivoting that you're not overextending your budget because you're going to have to reallocate some funds to the new direction that you're heading or the new product that you're providing or service. So align your resources, make sure that it's not going to put you in debt. Um, and you just be careful with, your decisions along the way.
Exactly. Perfect. Perfect. So there are some challenges and pitfalls to watch out for, right?
Yeah.
When you are making those pivots, and you want to make sure, and you've kind of already alluded to this in just a few minutes ago, but reframe your pivot and adapt, right? So as you're doing a pivot, maybe you pivoted the wrong way. If you can catch that, pivot again. no one says you need to only pivot once, right? You might pivot 5 times before you find the right spot to be in.
Yes, I call that failing forward.
Yeah, you know what? And I love that term. It's a good example.
Yes, I think they write books on just that concept. So read the books,
Yes.
understand that it is okay, and just persevere through the failures because that's always an opportunity to learn how to pivot in a new direction. It's like a door to another direction.
And when you do pivot, just know you're going to get resistance, right? That
Hmm.
resistance from your employees because now you're changing a policy, you're changing a procedure. Now they have to do
Yeah.
it this way, and they're already used to the old way, but the old way is not working or it's not efficient. So you've
Yes.
changed, you pivoted, and now you got this new way, but your employees and your customers may give you some resistance, but
Yes.
stay on course, stay the mission, see it through.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They have to trust you as their leader, right? But they probably will be a little bit weary or scared and give you some resistance, um, or lack of faith. But you're the leader, so you're the one in charge, you know?
It's your company, it's your business, you're the guy in charge, you're right, or girl in charge, or should I say woman?
That's
Woman.
right, Barry. Girls are in charge.
Hey, I'm fine with that. Boss me around, go for it.
No, that's Tammy's job.
Yeah. So the other thing is on your pivots, just make sure that you know, you've heard the expression low hanging fruit, right? Take a look at those things that are fast pivots, right? And grab those first and get those done and get them out of the way so
Oh
that you can
yeah,
really start focusing on the high impact stuff like that. But those are the easy
not
ones, and
cost
maybe
you.
you might,
Yeah,
yeah, cost you nothing.
right. Exactly. That's what we
So,
like.
we got a few minutes left here, but there are some tools to use when you do pivots, right? And there's a really good one called a lean canvas, and that's I'll put on our
Post those
website.
on our website. Yeah.
Yeah,
These
I'll
are some
put those.
great terms that our clients may not, or our customers and audience may not be aware of, Barry. This is a good segment to talk about, maybe even on a whole podcast. But yeah, we'll post these so that you guys can
Yeah.
learn difference.
So there, yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. Um, lean canvas is a worksheet, if you will, that kind of steps you through the process. It's almost like a spreadsheet, but it's not. It's and you can put in what the problem is, and then what potential solutions are, and then who's attached to it, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a project plan, if you will, almost.
Yes.
The other's a SWOT analysis, and that's SWOT, and that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right?
I think we're thinking about that subconsciously. We may not even be realizing it when we're pivoting. It's happening in our brains automatically. We
Wait, you
are
have something
doing,
happen in your brain?
yeah. Excuse me, I don't think you would align with me as your partner if I didn't. Hello.
I I need more coffee. I'm still firing up. I'm only on a couple cylinders right now.
And then what's the other one? Customer journey mapping to refocus on your user's needs. We talked about that earlier in the
Yeah,
podcast.
and really with that one, it's a form too that you can sit down with your client and learn how they got to you. What were their problems
Yes.
and why they chose you and what problems you were solving.
And we talked about that when we were doing the women leadership podcast last week. You may have to
Yeah,
pivot as a woman because you're entering into a business relationship as a woman, and men have
right,
to do,
right, right.
yeah, A/B testing tools.
Right, A/B test. So basically, there's again a form for that too. But as you're pivoting and you're testing products or services, you know, run down this product versus that way, or whatever the case might
Getting
be.
your
So that
testing
yeah,
results and know how to pivot, or which ones you want to use, right? You'll get your
right.
you'll get your information quickly. Um, so yeah, so those are some tools and frameworks. Barry's going to post them, and then you guys could, just have an awareness around them, and those are there for you to use so that you make sure that you're doing a successful pivot in your businesses and your companies, and on a daily basis. So this was a
Yes,
fun podcast, Barry.
There's one other thing I want to say.
Sure.
Just know that pivoting is not a weakness.
Absolutely.
Right? It's actually
Right.
it's a strength and it's evolution, right? Everybody pivots at some point. I mean, even us as humans, right? You might have a relationship and you're out of that one and you're in another one, you know.
Or no, you may be pivoting in the relationship you have because, things get stale and boring and you have to pivot and make it exciting. So it's actually a strength staying ahead of challenges and obstacles and the market if you're in business.
Yes,
So yeah, it's a definite
exactly.
strength. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, that's a wrap. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for joining. And please hit the subscribe button. We need you as a subscriber, not just a listener.
Yes, we do. And you can find Lisa and myself at investquire.com and, of course, on the Biz Show Facebook group. We'd be
Yes.
happy to talk with you guys.
And please congratulate my son, Anthony Manifold. He's graduating from Cal State Fullerton in Orange County this week. And so I will not maybe be on the next podcast because I will be busy celebrating my son.
We're going
Barry
to
and I
drag you.
will figure out a time.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
try to get together.
Well, you'll be at the graduation, so we'll see you in person.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Have a great week.
Good day. Go out and make some money.
That's right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Biz Show podcast. Subscribe to stay updated and follow Barry and Lisa on Facebook at The Biz Show. Share your comments or suggest specific business topics you'd like to hear. Bye.